Hello. I figured since they are actually right around the corner, I think about 2 weeks away from when I'm recording this, maybe even sooner, I actually do want to go over the nominees and stuff that's coming through for the Game Awards coming up here. I also recently bought Clip Studio Paint, took advantage of their Black Friday sale. It'd be a good chance I can yap, draw, hopefully edit it down to become a little bit more digestible. So we're just going to go over the nominees, and I'm going to talk about what my thoughts on each category that I think I actually have opinions about. There are some categories where it's like, yeah, I haven't played any of these, or like I haven't heard enough about these games that I don't even feel remotely qualified to judge them. So I'm not going to touch those if that's the case. But otherwise, let's go ahead and go over some of these categories. So yeah, first one I'd probably want to go over is the Knuckles series. Duh. Why wouldn't it be the Knuckles series? There's only been like good things that have happened with the Knuckles series. Isn't there like an episode where there's like a ballad of like Wade? It's like a whole deal. The whole existence of Knuckles is just really funny to me. I don't really know why. Probably because he is just like the meathead of gaming in my head. I don't think he's ever been like anything else. Poor guy is Mr. Manipulator. Or I guess manipulated. He doesn't really... I don't think he manipulates anyone. I hope he doesn't. Knuckles is better than that. Oh god, I don't have any of my pen binds because I'm new to this. My favorite thing about Knuckles is probably his Sonic Boom design, where he had like insanely broad shoulders and he was super muscular for no reason. Say what you want about Sonic Boom, but it had... I really like the character design, actually. I think of most of the characters. We'll do the classic, I don't know how to draw a trick, and I'll make him hold his arm behind his back. I don't know what he's really praying to, but... Or I guess not praying, saluting? Got his hand as heart. There's a reason I stick to sketchbooks, but maybe my purchase of Clip Studio Paint for like $20 or whatever will justify moving it forward from that. Anyways, let's keep going. There's our Knuckles. Best multiplayer. See if I have any opinion on this. So yeah, this is pretty interesting to me. Go over each of these. Call of Duty, I don't like Call of Duty in general. I think it's a little representative of everything that's kind of gone wrong in the video game industry monetarily, in my mind. Games that have grown in scope to a stupid degree. I think they're kind of an example of the big reason games are so expensive now, and like companies are so set in spending that large amount of money in gaming. So I'm really not too keen on COD winning anything. I think it might, but I don't know. I think it's going against some good enough competition that it won't. Mario Party. Mario Party's awesome. I think a lot of people like Mario Party, and I think it's funny that there was a good tweet I saw recently talking about how like we kind of take Mario Party for granted in a weird, like, fucked up kind of way. Mario Party's like been around for almost every year, like forever. And I think the only time it kind of went missing for a little bit was during the Wii U era, when we got to call it instead, when we kind of had to wait for our next like car entry or whatever. But we've always had Mario Party for a really long time, and I'm really glad that it's really kind of come back into its own again. Not that I don't think it was that bad. I think people kind of make it seem like it was worse than it was, which it really wasn't. At least in my opinion, it wasn't. I don't know what this is. It's like a lion? Oh no, it's Super Earth. I've never played Helldivers. Tells you how much like I'm qualified to vote for any of these. But I really liked. I don't know. I like it when a new game, like a new IP, which I guess it's Helldivers 2, so it's not a new IP. But I never saw anybody ever talk about Helldivers 1. So figured like, hey, like I'm glad it made it. I think Mario Party's great, but I don't think it's doing anything new or like special that I would consider like the best multiplayer in any way. The only real disappointment with Helldivers was all of the PlayStation nonsense, which to me, like I remember the community manager I think was tweeting about it, and it never seemed like they were too happy with what ended up happening as far as the PlayStation stuff went. So we're past that, and now we can just enjoy Helldivers. So yeah, I vote Helldivers. Tekken 8, great fighting game though. I don't think that's super widespread, and it's more refinement of an existing thing. And then Warhammer, I don't know anything about, so that's where I am. But yeah, Helldivers. Best esports / racing. I'm not playing any of these, and none of them looked like esports. I guess, sports / racing. Yeah, I'm okay. I think it's kind of BS that they bundle genres like this, like sports and racing don't have anything to do with each other. Chocobo Kart could have been here if Chocobo Kart came out this year. We can work on that. I'm not voting there. Best sim / strategy. I haven't played any of these. I'm not touching it. Best family. Oh boy. I've got words about all of these, honestly. So Nintendo always gets best family category. It's not really a surprise, but I have to start shrinking these drawings. But my vote, I think in general. So let's talk about the ones I don't agree with first. Princess Peach Showtime, no way. That's probably my least favorite game of the year, if not the entire Switch generation. I'd like to talk about it more, but effectively, it was really disappointing that they chose the, like, route that they ended up going with in that game, and it's just super easy and underwhelming. Mario Party's great, but again, Mario Party's always been around, and it's refinement of existing stuff, so I'm not a massive fan of voting for that. Echoes of Wisdom seemed like a great success. I haven't played it yet. I'm gonna pick it up probably once all these Black Friday deals like start stabilizing, and I can get it for cheap at Costco or something. So my vote is actually not for Plucky Squire, because I heard Plucky Squire was an amazing art style and premise. It had all kinds of promises behind it, but didn't end up doing all that much in the way of being a good game. It's disappointing, but I think kind of expected. I don't know. I saw trailers for it, and it looks great. Like this entire time, it's never looked bad. It just looked like it would probably struggle to be a game. So yeah, my vote. It's for Astrobot. I'm so glad Sony kind of finally hit something out of the park, and it was this. This deserved it. I don't know if this has been selling any systems or anything. For me, it probably convinced me to eventually pick up a PS5, which I never felt for the PS4, just because of PC ports. But this will never get a PC port, so I kind of want to check this out one day. Overall, I'm very happy, especially as a family title, because Sony has struggled with these to actually, take them. I'm glad we're seeing some progress on that front. Anyways, moving right along. Best fighting. I don't play fighting games. Super quick. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero seemed like an awesome Dragon Ball experience, but a middling fighting game that becomes button mashing. So I wouldn't vote for it. I don't have any thoughts on Grand Blue. Marvel vs. Capcom. Awesome that it's here. It's finally back. Why would we give an award for 2024 to a game from whatever year these games came out from? I don't know. Multiverses has been almost embarrassing, in my opinion, for the way it's released and the way it's been updated. It's super disappointing. This was very exciting as a Smash Brothers contender, but it kind of failed. My vote's for Tekken 8. Let's see what else we got. Best RPG. Here we go. Now we're talking my language. So the interesting thing about each category to me is always like, why is this the best version of whatever we're looking at? So, for example, what I would consider a game of the year might not win Best RPG compared to, like, if there were two RPGs in that category. In this case, I'm probably going to give it to Metaphor, which I don't really know anything about. I've just only heard good things. And, again, I've talked about this before. I love Final Fantasy VII, I think, in general. I haven't talked about Final Fantasy VII, but I love Final Fantasy VII, but it's an old game. The thing you're nominating it for is rehashes of story beats that have already been written, but there's also new story beats. Let's not to discount that stuff either. It looks like this has like Anime Boy number 5. We'll draw Anime Boy number 5. Give him a silly sword. Wait, he's got one eye here, and everything else is pretty covered up. Yeah, it is disappointing. I think the biggest disappointment on this list for me is probably Dragon's Dogma, purely because, like, I think Dragon's Dogma had a lot of promise, and it had a lot going for it, but just, like, I don't know, it seemed like they freaking, like, dropped the ball with the, like, weird microtransactions that were in the game, and, like, all kinds of other, like, nonsense. Just held it back from being the great product it could have been. Just disappointing. Because I was excited because I think, like, apparently the first one's, like, a crazy cult classic, but they just kind of, they didn't give it the love it deserved, which is a shame. We're going to move him behind Knuckles. I don't know how to move things yet in this app. Give me the selection tool. There will be more moving later. Actually, you know what? I'm going to keep them separate. We'll do some organizing later. What else we got? Best Action Adventure. So this is an interesting one to me. I don't like this wording. Action adventure combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. Why is Silent Hill here? I don't feel like that's a big action game. I've watched a lot of gameplay of it. Not that there's anything wrong with the combat or anything in it. It's just it's a very weighty game, and it's more about, you know, the exploration and stuff that you already do in it. I wouldn't give it to Astrobot purely because I don't think Astrobot's combat is anything to write home about, nor is Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. So I'm going to give it to the biggest, like, slept on game of the year, in my opinion, which is Prince of Persia. I think it's a damn shame what they did to this game. I played it at PAX this last year, and I thought it was really cool, but it seems like Ubisoft kind of didn't advertise it. They kind of screwed it over by making it a Prince of Persia game. Maybe the devs wanted that, I don't know. But I think a lot of people were kind of frustrated that it wasn't the dream Prince of Persia game that they always wanted. Which is sad, because I have thoughts on sequels and choosing to, I think there's merit in a developer taking an old franchise and trying something completely new with it. It's just the unfortunate reality of that is that there's always kind of caveats to taking an old franchise and trying something new, because some people are going to be like, oh yeah, you like didn't even try, and it's like, no, they just did something completely different. But when you take a established franchise that hasn't been touched in a long time and you try something new with it, it's really sad when that doesn't work out to me, because like that's a big risk, and it didn't pay off. Wow. Now that's a Prince of Persia. I'm gonna switch to a new layer. I'll keep everyone together, but let me also label all of these before I forget. The Knuckles pick was also a joke pick, by the way. Don't get angry at that, please. I don't know why it got nominated in the first place, and I haven't seen the rest, and I think it's kind of funny. We'll see a lot more Astrobot. I really like this pen, this default pen. Alright, back to voting. Prince of Persia. Best action game. Best game in the action genre primarily focused on combat. These are... I'm not giving it to Black Myth Wukong. I'm definitely not giving it to COD. That's nothing new. I'd consider Warhammer, Stellar Blade. I don't think I'd give it to Helldivers. Purely because I don't think Helldivers combat is anything to write home about. I'm thinking I might give it to Stellar Blade. Purely because, like, I don't think Stellar Blade's bad at all. I just think it's kind of... It definitely portrays its main character in a way. I watched a good video recently on it. I did like what they had to say about the main character, which is that, like, she doesn't, like... I don't know, the character doesn't act sexy is the best way I can put it, I guess. She just kind of beats shit up in a sexy way. But other than that, like, I don't know, it seemed like a solid game combat-wise, at the very least. I know it had issues from what I read. Like, its stories kind of, like, seemed like it was kind of ended up being a more milquetoast situation than anything. But that doesn't take away from what it did accomplish, which I think is, like, pretty good combat and a pretty cool new IP with high budget, high accomplishments. Good stuff. Seriously, don't want to draw this person's ass. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Best VR AR. Haven't played any of these. I pray they're good. The only VR I have access to is a mixed reality headset from 2019, 2020 maybe, I don't remember. It's old, and it gets the job done for like VR chat and like stuff I kind of want to do, but I don't think I'd ever take it out to get into a AAA experience right now. I'd like a MetaQuest 3 in the future though. Best mobile game. Oh snap. Give it to Balatro. The rest of these are kind of a little too monetized or otherwise for me to recommend. Debut indie. Here we go. Now we're talking about video games. So I'm gonna start with my thoughts on Balatro, which is that I haven't played it. It's not that I don't want to play it. It's more I don't want to play card games, and I'm awful at card games. Since I'm so awful at card games, the only one of these indie games that I ended up playing this year was Animal Well. And Animal Well is awesome. It's got this happy little guy, and he goes on a happy little adventure through a completely normal and silly little well. There's nothing else happening in this game. You should pick it up, turn it on for a chill time. The atmosphere is amazing. One of my favorite things to do in the game was just turn off all my lights and then plug in a speaker and just let the game kind of like soak me into the environment. Just how much it worked in that regard. So yeah, I'd give it to Animal Well. I'm very disappointed that Animal Well didn't get more nominations. I think it deserved a lot more. I don't understand why some nominations happened, which we'll get there. Because Best Independent Game. Boy. I don't know what else Mossmouth has made. I assume since they weren't included for Best Debut Indie is because they've done a project before. Oh, it's Spelunky. I didn't know they did Spelunky. That makes a lot more sense. No wonder that game's been popping off. Let me give... Yeah, I'd give Animal Well this one too. Which you can tell because I'm going to give him a second set of legs so he can walk. Isn't that great? Let's go Animal Well. Best community support. This is an interesting one. I've played actually most of these. Baldur's Gate 3 I think kind of wrapped up this year for the most part. There's still some stuff, but They also swept last year. No Man's Sky had a big update. That's great. I think No Man's Sky is kind of flatlined. Fortnite is a game that I have very little positive opinions on. Actually, it's a lie. It's got Peter Griffin, so it's all right. Helldivers 2, I wouldn't give it best community support because of all the PlayStation nonsense. Unfortunately, that is like the reality of it. I don't think they like necessarily deserve a snub there, but also, yeah, they kind of dropped the ball. So the game I like the most to play will be taking it, and that is Final Fantasy XIV. Why Final Fantasy XIV, Egg? Why do you do this to yourself? Why do you play live service games? Oh, they're kind of fun sometimes. And also, I think their new expansion, Dawn Trail, was pretty weak in terms of story and great in terms of gameplay. But that being said, they did do like push a massive graphics update with it. And this graphics update, I was kind of worried about. People were worried about their characters and like, oh, with the new graphics update, would my new character look the way I want them to? And that was a completely like reasonable request and like thought. And the dev team was like, okay, we'll just give you the item that you normally pay for to change your character for free. And they gave them one to everyone for free, which is crazy to me because I don't know, they could have made like so much money from that. And honestly, that move alone like kind of convinced me like, yeah, I think they do have the best community support this last year. And taking some of the criticism from the new update, and then they added more graphical changes, and they were like, yeah, if you still don't like it, we're gonna give you another appearance item changer or whatever. So I really think they put in the work and they made it. I respect that choice, and I think that earns them the best community support. Best ongoing. So I've kind of alluded to this, I think, in numerous places, but I'm a Destiny fiend. Unfortunately for me and my wallet. Actually, I don't think it's as financially bad as people make it out to be. It's no better than like paying for a Fortnite battle pass or whatever, and I think everybody does that. But this year, the Destiny's not final expansion, but the end of its like big arc, I guess, is how it was marketed. They wrapped up, and I was very happy with the ending, and I think a lot of players were. I'm still not super happy with the way the studio is treating its employees, how it's kind of approaching all of that. I do think that the final shape and the way it launched and how much like content it came with and how many demands it how many requests it accepted definitely justify a best ongoing for this previous year. Final shape is a really special experience if you were playing Destiny since the beginning, and I was just super happy with the way they chose to wrap up the story. Yeah, I'd give best ongoing to Destiny 2. Games for Impact. Amazing that this category exists. I haven't played any of these. I'm hoping it doesn't go to Senua's Hellblade 2 because I've heard that is more of the same, and I hope it doesn't go to Life is Strange purely because I want them to stop making Life is Strange games, and I'm malicious in that way. Next category. Innovation and accessibility. I'm glad this is here. I haven't experimented with any of these features. I don't think I'm qualified to vote for it. Best performance. I haven't played any of these, and I haven't heard their full performances, except for probably Luke Roberts as, I don't remember, as, I keep on wanting to say Ethan, but that's Resident Evil, I think? I don't know why I can't think of his name. Either way, I've only heard that performance. It's fantastic. I'm sure the rest of these ladies did great too. Haven't heard them. I'm not gonna throw my hat in the ring. Audio design. Now, this is a category I can get behind. Silent Hill 2 has fantastic audio design, and so does Astrobot, though. And I think I would give it more to Astrobot purely for its inventive use of audio design. I think it's got some crazy cool levels that take advantage of, like, you know, the DualSense controller and all of these other features that can be found in the game. So I'd give it to Astrobot personally. Best score in music. So this is where I'm going to cheat my own rules a little bit. Generally, I wouldn't be a massive fan of giving a remake any award, but here's the thing. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has one of my favorite battle themes of all time, and I haven't even played the game yet. I don't think I could. I think I need to recognize how incredible the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth soundtrack is, and I think for that reason. And, like, it's a lot of arrangements of existing content, but it's also a lot of weird new things, like the dog song, bow wow wow, bow wow wow, or whatever. That's fantastic. And I think it utilizes, it knows it has a fantastic like legacy to choose from. And for that reason, the way it utilizes that like soundtrack to make something new and still like equally as exciting and magical as when you get back to Cosmo Canyon again, and when you get back to wherever you recognize. I think for that reason, I'd give it best score. Best art direction. This is probably close between Astrobot and Metaphor. I've got extremely mixed opinions on Black Myth Wukong and Elden Ring being nominated for this, purely because both of them I don't think have super unique art style. It's not that they're bad in any way. They just look, I could show you a medieval man in a gray landscape, and it could be either of these games or any number of other games that have come out over the years. I'm gonna give it to Metaphor. I guess I don't need to write best every time, do I? Going sideways is kind of hard for writing. There we go. Yeah, Metaphor is a little bit more stylized. Otherwise, it would have gone to Astrobot. Right. Narrative. This is another example of where I get so frustrated by the inclusion of remakes here. All of these narratives, 2 of these have been told before. Silent Hill 2's narrative isn't new. It won awards for it back in the day, or it should have, or it got snubbed by whatever, but it had its opportunity then. I don't know why it's being renominated. Silent Hill 2 especially, purely because that is a full remake of the story. It's not a new story. Not that it's a bad story. It's an incredible story about, how you can disillusion yourself into things. Regardless, though, that frustrates me. Senua was Hellblade 2, I think, is along the same lines in my head, because I heard, again, I haven't played it, so maybe it's not that bad, but I heard it's kind of another retread of what Hellblade 1 was after, and instead it was with a way bigger budget, and it came out like 4 years after it got announced. And then Rebirth. Rebirth is tough because I know it's a ongoing story and it's got like changes in it. I haven't looked into them purely because I don't have a PS5 and I don't want to spoil myself. But I also know that every single plot point from the original 7 is in it, and it's still following that super closely. So why would it ever get nominated for a brand new narrative award? So that brings us with Like a Dragon and Metaphor. I think I'm going to give it to ReFantazio because I saw a much stronger reaction to that online. Thank you. Let me write that down. I don't know why I got heated about that. It's not that big a deal. Best game direction. Astrobot. Astrobot is a awesome product purely because it's so consistent all the way through. It really feels like the kind of game that the team had a vision and completely followed through on it all the way through. The best way I can put that is with like the DualSense technology and being able to feel like, like when I'm walking in the grass, I can feel out the DualSense, or like the triggers and how they work. I think the game works super well as a complete and final product when everything comes together. I don't think anything that Astrobot does in particular is super impressive. Platforming is a little bit Holloway-like. I don't think any of it is super unique or special, but I think as a whole, when you consider like, here's the majesty of entering like a casino level and seeing all of the different ideas they can implement into a casino level, it's when Astrobot shines, and that's why it deserves all of the recognition it has, is because it's such a complete idea, and it doesn't feel like it's compromised, even though it's not like a massive experience or anything. So yeah, I think that applies directly to Best Art Direction, leaving us with our final award, Game of the Year. I have thoughts on all of these. I'm going to start with the one that I just don't think should be here at all, which is Black Myth Wukong. I think a lot more games got critical praise than Black Myth Wukong this year, and I'm kind of frustrated it's here, because it feels kind of like that's a high budget game that came out this year, so we should nominate it, which is frustrating. I think games like Animal Well, thank goodness you're here. A lot of like indies I feel like got snubbed for the second slot. And I think the Game Awards now have shifted away from like, we're not going to nominate indies at all now. Now they kind of do indies as like the gimme slot. I think there's been like an indie nominated for a Game of the Year like every year for the past few years. And it's kind of just like, like we threw one indie in there. Like, no, they're on the same playing field. Get Black Myth out of here. But I can't believe it's not Animal Well. So truthfully, I can't believe it's not Animal Well. That game it felt like it took over like the critics' internet for a month because they gave them access to like a Discord server and stuff during that period. Shadow of Erdtree. Let's talk about DLC in our Game of the Year. No, the game already won Game of the Year is the even funnier thing to me. So why are we giving it another chance? Give it a DLC category. Put it somewhere that isn't here. It's absurd to me that this was allowed. I understand that it's like one of the better. One of the best things that came out this year, probably. But also, it's building on an existing engine versus all of these other games that are either on new engines or new ideas or new hardware. It's really frustrating to me that that can get nominated, even though it's not completely new. And I think that's another snub spot that should have gone to literally anybody else. Maybe even Black Myth Wukong. I don't understand why that's here. It's really frustrating. And then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I want to give it to it so bad. There's a part in my heart that needs to give it Game of the Year, because I know when I play this game, it will be my Game of the Year. Whatever year I play it, it's going to be my Game of the Year. I need that PC port, Square Enix. Where is it? Show it off at the Game Awards. Pretty please. That being said, it's still an old game, and I don't feel like it's right being here with the other Game of the Years. So that leaves us with a whole whopping 3 options, being Astrobot, Balatro, and Metaphor. Balatro is a card game, and I'm scared of it, and I can't play it because my brain is small and wee and little. So I'm not going to give it to Balatro purely because I haven't played it yet. Metaphor, but I also haven't played any of these. Metaphor Refantasio seemed great, but it also seemed like it still had some of the fallings that any Persona game had, where like the day system could get a little monotonous. Some of the social links weren't like worth it or whatever. Astrobot, like I said earlier, it just comes together in this perfect little package that is just so fun to rip apart and play all of its levels and look into it. So for me, I truly hope that Astrobot takes Game of the Year. I'll add that to my little drawing. Get our Game of the Year winner. So yeah, that about wraps up my thoughts on any category that I feel justified in voting in. So I'm hoping that the rest of these I'm hoping that this is a good Game Awards. I hope we get good announcements. I hope we don't see any CG trailers that lead to a game that we're not going to hear about for 4 years and it's going to come out to be a 7 out of 10. That will happen. Hopefully we see Silk Song. That won't happen. But regardless, I look forward to it every year. And I like speculating and talking about my opinions on games from this year that I haven't played. I've played 2 of these that I've written down. No, 3 of them. So, I don't know. I'm not a critic. I don't play all of these every year. So, it's no wonder that it's such a mixed opinion on games. I play old games every year. I've been playing Final Fantasy 16, and it's been a joy. So, I'm a year late to the party. But regardless, I think these are all going to be great. And I can't wait to hear about them. They're already out. I can't wait to hear about them. But I hope they get the recognition they deserve. Oh yeah, also, Content Creator of the Year, give it to Pecora, because it's funny. I think it's funny that Pecora could win. I don't really care how. I don't think she's done anything, like, of note this past year, but she's funny, and funny matters. Why wouldn't you give it to Pecora? Pecora's a bunny. You like bunnies. Give it to Pecora. Give it to Pecora. Give it to Pecora. Give it to Pecora. Anyways, that's all I got. Thanks.